So welcome. Hi, everyone. This is episode 17 of the Government Coins podcast. Listen, y'all, we are at the end. We are at the very end of this. And I'm so excited to have another amazing entrepreneur on this podcast today. Jakayla is a government contractor. Not only does she provide services to different government agencies, I want to hit on this one. Y'all know I'm always going to talk about the military. Her company has a janitorial cleaning contract with the military. So I want to talk about a little bit about that, about doing janitorial cleaning, but she also handles facilities maintenance contracts as well. So super excited to get into this. Jakayla, would you mind telling everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me. Super appreciative and glad to be here. I love your podcast. I love everything that you do. You're just such a beautiful soul. So thank you for having me. I'm Jakayla. Nice to meet you guys. I am a mom. I'm a wife. I am a government contractor. I'm an entrepreneur. And we own, my husband, when I say we, I mean my husband and I, we co-own this company behind us, Transform Floor Care and Janitorial Services. So it is a facilities maintenance company that focuses, or originally I should say focused on flooring and janitorial opportunities, but now we are kind of positioning ourselves in the facilities maintenance industry so that we're not, confined to just two industries. We have more capabilities, so that's how we're structuring everything from here on out.
Very nice. That strategy. You get in, find that sweet spot, and you expand. So I'm super excited to talk a little bit more about that. But just before we get too deep into it, so you and your husband started this company. How did you start this company? Like what was it that said, oh, we was gonna start this cleaning company? Like what was
it? I never wanted to start this company, and I tell people this all the time, but looking back, it's funny. It was not funny then. It's funny now, but it was not funny then, because the first time he even mentioned, starting a flooring company, because it was originally just Transform Floor Care, and we added janitorial services to it when we came and got the first contract we ever got. But I'll touch on that a little bit too. So it started off flooring, and that was his dream. That's what he wanted to do. He kind of grew up in that industry, and he knew he wanted to, have his own. So he started the company. I'm his wife, so I'm part owner as well. This kind of goes hand in hand. So he did actual work, and I did the back end stuff. To this day, that's how it kind of is. And that's really how we got started. Now, when we first got started, we had no intentions of providing these services or any of our services to the government. That's something that we kind of just fell into later down the line. But looking back, again, thank God we did, because it's opened up an entire plethora of doors, I would say, just from, falling into it. So it was definitely obviously meant to happen. And I'm definitely glad that it did.
Now, you say you fell into government contracting. What is the story behind that? Because most people actually just fall into it.
Yeah, isn't that I hear that so much. I thought that I was a little special, but the more I hear conversations and podcasts and other industry experts within the government contracting space, the more I'm realizing that, yeah, most people have no idea about this. They kind of just, a friend of a friend tells them, or another business partner, or whatever the case is. I don't think a lot of us had intentions on doing this. It's we heard about it. Once you hear about it, you can't really look away, right? You can't. You really can't. So with me, it's a little different. I grew up in a town that literally was surrounded by 4 military bases. So we have an air station, a naval hospital, and then 2 housing communities.
Wow.
That's just the town that I grew up in. As soon as I could, I left that town, just like any other kid, right? So I went to college. I went to Clemson University and was actually majoring in industrial engineering. Did that for 3 out of the 5 years. It's a 5-year, engineering is a 5-year program. I did 3 years, and my husband and I, we ended up getting pregnant with our daughter. And I'd already knew that I didn't want to necessarily be an engineer. It's just, I was going with the flow. I was good at it. Math was my subject. And it just made sense. So for those who know me on a personal level, I'm really big on living on purpose. And 3 years into that program, I just felt like I was not living on purpose. I knew that there was more for me. I knew that I was supposed to be, I'm on this planet to be doing more than just becoming an engineer. right? I think I was living a lot for like my parents and my grandparents who had it in the college and things of that sort. So it was a huge deal. I have a twin sister. We were the first two to actually go to college out of like the kids. So that was that. And it was a really big, like it was a super heavy load on my shoulders to just finish and pursue that degree that I didn't really necessarily want to have. So 3 years into it, I met my amazing husband, and he's like the complete opposite. If he wants to do something, he's gonna do it. Like, forget what anybody else says. Like, he's all about just living on purpose and making sure that he's happy, making sure he's pursuing everything that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Complete opposite mindsets at the time.
Yeah.
So I met him, and literally like he was my person. And the more you spend time around people who are, you know, thinking on the level that you really want to think on, but you're too scared to think of, it influences you, right? In all of the best ways. So after a year meeting him, that was my 3rd year, I was like, you know what? I have an excuse now. We're pregnant, which was the best thing ever. I have an excuse now to not go back. So I kind of use that as an excuse, even though I kind of already knew I didn't want to pursue that. And then I also didn't want to teach my child, you know, to, hey, go after whatever it is you want to do in life, pursue it. You know, don't be afraid. Don't listen to what other people think. How can I teach her that if mom couldn't even do it? So I withdrew, was still scared at the time. So I ended up taking an engineering internship at a nuclear plant. And that was like, I was trying to transition out of it, but ended up getting stuck because they offered me a full-time position. So I ended up going, it was a long story. But anyways, we started the business in the middle of that transition. And I think entrepreneurship is really just what solidified that decision. Because once we started the business, it was like, okay, we're all in, like we are all in. But where we were at was not a great place to actually grow that business. So we had to make a hard decision of either moving back to his hometown area or moving back to my hometown area. He's from up north, I'm from down south. So I was immediately like, no, we've got to go down, let's go down south. But it worked out amazingly. It worked out amazing because, again, 4 military bases. So our brains are like, you know, we're turning now, the wheels are turning. We're like, okay, well, how do we figure out how to get a contract on these bases? And from there, the research began, you know, we started asking the questions and we figured it out. It took a while. It definitely took a long time, but we figured it out and we got our first contract.
Wow. Oh man. So you definitely found that space, went back, and that's how it worked out. Okay. So since we did that and you went through all of, like, a lot of people are probably in their research phase right now. That's why they're listening to this podcast. That's why they're following us on social media. Like, they're in that research phase right now. In that research phase, how long did it take you to begin to implement some of the things that you were utilizing? And then also, what were some of those first mistakes that you made?
Oh man, the first mistake that I made, which I tell people this all the time, is not connecting with someone who was already where I wanted to be, whether it was in my industry or whether it was just in government contracting in itself. For me, this was my first introduction to this space. So I didn't even know who, and I was a new entrepreneur. So I had no idea who I should even reach out to. So the first person that I did reach out to was my connections at my college. So there is a program through SBA called SBDC, and they are amazing for new entrepreneurs. And that's who I reached out to because I knew the person on campus, amazing guy. And we sat down, we wrote a business plan together, completely new. It was so intimidating, but I really wish that I would have went a step further and actually found people, you know, entrepreneurs, business owners that were in this industry that could kind of like walk me down, you know, best practices, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, things of that sort, because it would have saved us. It took us a year to get our first contract. It would have saved us so much time. So that was, I don't know if I would call it a mistake, but that's something that I know I would go back and, you know, reconsider if I was new and in some of the people's position that, you know, are in that research phase. I think one other thing that I would definitely consider as well is just asking more questions. I think the mindset that I was in was, you know, I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure this out. And I don't know if I should ask, like, I don't know if people are going to be willing to share this information. Like, this is for me, then I was like, this is high level stuff. Like, I don't know if they're just gonna share this type of information. So I didn't ask questions. Now I'm asking anyone and everyone questions. And oftentimes people will share the answers to you. So I definitely say ask questions and, find someone, whether it's a mentor, whether it's whatever the case is, that you can again ask questions and get resources and information and help from.
Okay. And here's another question. So after you started this business, how did you begin to build and make relationships in this space?
Yeah, so I think moving back home was definitely a great decision, even though I didn't necessarily, it's home. No one wants to go back home, right? But it was a great decision because everyone knows everyone, right? So if I did need someone or need something, all I had to do was call someone that I already knew who knew someone else. So that was very helpful. Building relationships outside of, the network you already have, if you're not lucky to have people who know everyone, you would be surprised at how many free, I guess, like resources you can utilize just if you think about it, right? Just if you could take some time and just quiet the noise and focus on what you already know. So for us, we're DBE certified. And as soon as we got DBE certified, you get these blast emails that are always constantly sent. And they also have a directory. So knowing that, well, if they have a directory for this type of certification, why wouldn't they have a directory for other types of certifications? If they have directories for other types of certifications, why wouldn't they just have business directories in general? So you just have to like be willing to think further than what most people will think, and just take action. Like anything that you need as far as information and resources, it's available. I mean, we live in the day and age where the internet literally will give you anything you want. You just have to know and be committed to finding it.
Okay. And then I guess I would piggyback on that and ask, in terms of like new businesses who are just getting into the space, how would you recommend for them to go out? Like, have you been to many networking events where you found people? What are some of the avenues you use to really network and connect and meet people?
So I guess there's a couple different ways. One, social media, and we talked about this earlier, social media has been amazing for me. I'm a natural born like people person. It's not hard to make relationships for me because if you're genuine, I'm genuine. Like it's just a gravitation type thing, right? So social media kind of brings relationships to me now that I actually talk about what I do. So leveraging social media for sure, and not just Instagram. I'm now utilizing like LinkedIn and things of that sort. Another way that I make relationships is by attending pre-proposal meetings. I know when I talk to companies, when I work with companies, they say all the time, well, do I have to attend this? Well, you don't, but the cool thing about attending it is one, you're going to get the information that you need. You get to ask questions and the agency gets to like put a face to a name and meet your business and all of those great things. But also you get to meet your competition who can later become your partners and you know what I mean? The same people that you can do business with later on down the line. You know what I mean? So that has been super, super helpful. Like for instance, I just went to a proposal meeting for an airport janitorial contract. No intention on bidding on it because it's out of our scope of work. It's just, and you have to be able to be real with yourself. Like if that's not in your capabilities, move on. Okay. So I knew it wasn't in our capabilities, but I know that that's something that we do eventually want to pursue. And I also know that everyone who is going to pursue it this time around, they're going to be there. So I need to meet them. So literally I went just to not to partner, just to form relationships. And just because my name is now on that meeting list, people are reaching out to my company, for the subcontracting opportunities. So that is definitely a gem or whatever people call it nowadays, a little trick tip, whatever you want to call it. Like go to the actual meetings, just go to the meetings. You'll meet so many people just from pre-bid, pre-proposal meetings. And then again, not being scared to ask questions, not being scared to actually talk about your business, talk about what you do, whether it's at, wherever you're going, like talk to people. You have no idea who you're talking to until you actually open your mouth and talk about your business. Like you have to be willing to market your business, tell people what you do, join, your chamber of commerce and things like that. attend these different, of course, industry events for agencies, but also just like your local events, like how you're talking about City of Tampa, like attend those, because oftentimes they can connect you with people that they already know as well. So just thinking out the box and doing things that most people aren't willing to do.
Okay, I like that. That pre-proposal, attending the pre-proposal meetings, that's definitely something that I'm like, oh, I might have to do that. Like now, I'll definitely go online and look at the list of people who attended. But if I'm not doing it, I usually don't show up. But now I'm reconsidering that. I might just ride over there and pull up.
I'm telling you, that's free networking.
It sure is. It sure is. That's a good one right there. The other one would be in terms of, so you mentioned at these events, you also build partnerships.
Mhm.
What does that process look like for you in terms of like locating partners to work with? And then also, how do you vet those partners? Like, how do you, and then, okay, let me go back. Because I want to ask this first while I'm saying,
Okay.
just how do you leverage partnerships? And then also, how do you find people to partner with?
Okay, so to be quite honest, people have been finding me lately, which I'm not complaining about. And I do think that a lot of it is social media. And again, just like talking about what it is you do. Those meetings that I just talked about as well. Like when I had, like I said, I had a company that reached out to me for subcontracting opportunities. And yeah, I'm super interested in subcontracting with you, but I don't want this to just be a, hey, you want to bid on this super huge, as a prime and you're looking for, subs. I want to form a long lasting relationship, because if you're a prime, that's not going to be that's not the only contract you're going to bid on. Right. And you're in my area, like you are literally, usually I try to like, I guess, network with the companies who are in my specific area. And then as like a secondary, the companies who are not in my state, but the ones who are in my backyard, like I want to know who you are. I want to know what your capabilities are, because there's lots of opportunities that I want to go after that I know we're not capable of yet. So for all the people who are wanting to grow in whatever industry they're in, that's literally a strategy you can use. You might not have the capabilities yet, but if you have something that you can leverage, which for me, we're a woman-owned business, right? We have past performance, right? We're a DBE business. If you have things, I know, like I'm very efficient in government contract and procurement process, right? And a lot of these companies, they're missing maybe two or three, or all of those things. So understanding what you bring to the table, what value you bring to a relationship like that. So when you do present yourself, as a partner or as like a team or whatever the case is, whatever you're trying to get from it, you're not just you're not just like receiving, right? You're also giving. And it's an equal beneficial relationship.
Nice, very nice. I will definitely agree with you with that partnership aspect. And I think I've recently started doing like looking at more of the negotiation aspects and reading a book about it actually. And just realizing, like you were saying, that mutually beneficial, relationship, it's the same when it comes down to like the negotiation process as well. So I think that's pretty, sound to get into it and start in that way. How do you manage all of the, or not filter? Let me find the best word for this.
Okay.
Vet. Potential
that
partners.
was part of your questions. So more than likely, if someone isn't, because in the industry that we're in, we work with other businesses as well, right? So that's another cool little thing that I think we have going for ourselves as well. And that is why I say, people oftentimes they come with me. Then if I work with you, or you take my master class, or I've talked to you, I kind of already have an idea of where you are. Especially like if you gone to like the next step of our done for you services on the consulting side. Like I know exactly where you are. So that's one vetting process that makes it super easy for us. And then another thing that we're going to implement as well is only working with specific industry businesses. So that way, again, I'm helping you, but this is mutually beneficial, right? So you want to become a government contractor, you have no idea, you need the steps, you need the process, you need the mentorship or whatever the case is. I will provide that to you. But not only are, you have to invest in those services, but at the end of it, let's work together. So now you have the information. You may not have the past performance yet, but my company does.
Leverage
Let's
it.
get you a contract. Let's work together. Now you have the past performance, and now you can do, what my company was, it took us years to do, literally in half the time, right? Another way of vetting companies is I have to talk to you. Like I need to get on a meeting with, I need to get on a call with you. I need to learn a little bit about your company. I'm going to do my research. Like I'm going to do my research on you. I'm definitely going to do my research on you. I mean, I'm gonna do my research on you. Like I want to make sure you actually are gonna you're not just a business, but you actually understand how to do business and how to do good business. Because if you're a janitorial company, or even if like you're a staffing agency and you staff a contract that I have and I can't even get in contact with you regarding certain things, like, and that's something that we've ran into before. And it's super important for us that we vet these companies, because with janitorial contracts, not so much flooring contracts, but with janitorial contracts, people already have a negative connotation surrounding janitors, right? Most of the time they're very low paid. Most of the time, they don't get treated fairly, unfortunately, but that's the reality of it. And if I'm doing business with another company who's going to be a part of this, I want to make sure that you're going to treat not only me and my company the right way, but you're also going to treat my people the right way, right? Like I got to make sure that you have everyone's best interest in mind and that you're conducting business, efficiently. So, yeah.
Okay. Now let's get into the details of the janitorial contracts versus the flooring contracts. So what is required for, like, what's typically required? Because I know they're all going to have like different requirements, but what's typically required when you are going after these janitorial contracts?
Everything. Everything. So for janitorial contracts, and before I answer this is really like the biggest reason as to why we're expanding into like the facilities management or facilities maintenance, more of a broad capabilities, simply because janitorial contracts, it's great, but there are other opportunities out there that, one, will pay you quicker, two, is not as big of a headache, and three, you don't have, it's just certain things. And this is why I also like tell people all the time, like figure out where you do business, like figure out what you would do best, like what industry you would do best in. Because janitorial, I never loved it from the start, right? Like I never loved it, but the reason we added it is because the contract that we had with the bases, they needed not only flooring contractors, they needed janitorial contractors as well. And they made it very clear that, if whoever that we get for flooring, it'd be great, it'd be great if they could offer these services as well. And again, went through the walkthrough, would have never known that if we didn't go through the walkthrough. So guess what we went home and did? Once we did the walkthrough, we added janitorial services. Never did a lick of janitorial in our life, right? So we learned very fast what was required of janitorial contractors. You have to be able to keep a facility clean, right? You got to make sure that, especially with the government and the military, their standards are a lot higher than what anyone else's standards would be. So you just have to make sure that you're delivering on their expectations. So I think understanding their expectations is going to always be the first thing. I will never bid on an opportunity where it's a janitorial contract without looking at the actual facility. And the reason for that is because you have RFPs that come out and they say they want you to do this, 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 and this in order for it to meet their standard, but really they need that, and that too. And if it's not in there, now you're going to be stuck doing more work simply because you didn't put your eyes on the facility. Absolutely. So oftentimes it's, regular daily things. Sometimes it's weekly. So you have your regular daily, your daily scope, which is like cleaning the bathrooms, making sure the floors are clean, sweeping. It's janitorial stuff. I mean, no brainer type of stuff. And then you have your annual things like making sure you strip and re-wax the floors, window cleaning and on all interior, exterior windows, carpet cleaning. And these are like and sometimes every quarter, semi and an annual things that have to get done. But I mean, it's, as far as like ease, it's not hard to do, right? It's definitely not hard to do, but finding the people to do it efficiently and making sure it's getting done to standard, that's where, the tricky part comes into play.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I went and did a walkthrough for someone on a janitorial contract, and I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
they're very
completely
particular.
understand. And I remember it too because while active duty, we do have checklists and
Hmm.
weekly, quarterly, like, and we did it on deployment. We did all the stripping and waxing and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But for the buildings, here, yeah, I can definitely see that being a huge undertaking because they don't have the amount of like people at that
Yeah.
space. So that is huge. What about the flooring contracts? What makes those contracts different from the actual janitorial ones?
Yeah. So flooring, I would say, is more like janitorial. You're gonna 9 times out of 10 have actual employees, right? So the bulk of our employees are janitors, they're
Janitorial.
custodians,
Mhm.
right? For flooring, if you have an opportunity that's local to you, then cool, your business can actually do that work. But for the most part, like you're not going to be traveling if I'm in South Carolina all the way to Texas or wherever your contract is, right? So that's where the vetting contractors and making you have the resources available. I think flooring, and this is why, we're expanding into facilities maintenance because the requirements that come along with, flooring and what we're already doing, they're very much similar, right? You have to find the people to actually get it done. There's an opportunity we're looking at right now that someone I met off Instagram sent over to me. I'm trying to tell you, social media is amazing. But there's an opportunity we're looking at right now that is requiring like the removal and then the installation of BCT flooring for like 42 units.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so like 42 different, like, yeah, a lot. And this is like this is like probably like 4 hours away from where my company is,
Okay.
right? So I'm not putting a team together and then
To
traveling for
drive
hours.
every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then having to pay them for stay and hotel. Like, no,
Per
no.
diem.
And there are companies that do that, right? There are definitely companies that do that, but I'd rather have, vetted contractors, people I know I can trust, people who have the resources that can put those things together to where now my company, all we have to do is make sure it gets done on time, make sure it gets done to standard, make sure that, all the back end things are managed, supplies, materials, all of that stuff. Make sure you guys, you deliver on time. And at that point, it's just more so, I guess, management. So very two different,
Yeah.
I guess, requirements when it comes to flooring and then janitorial services.
Nice. And I like the breakdown of them both, just so people can really get an understanding. Because I feel like people come to me and they say, I want to start a janitorial company. I'm like, oh, you got janitorial like experience? You ever did this before? And I'm like, no, they haven't started a company before. They don't know how it operates. So I'm like, okay, well, it's a lot more to go into these contracts, but we're gonna
Okay.
work on that. Yeah, like but I think it's that the perception that it's easy to get into, like it's a low hanging fruit, and it's not a construction contract. So I get that,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
But like you said, is other things that you can do that involve like that are part of the facilities maintenance side
Right.
and get into it and work with other people from there because you definitely have to be able to know how to manage employees, uh,
Absolutely.
not contractors, because they want to make sure this stuff and they will audit you.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And most of the time, janitorial contracts, they're like in-house, right? Like
Mhm.
for the most part, I mean, all that I've seen are in-house. I mean, I'm sure there's ones that's not, but managing, that's a whole nother ball game, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so many people who teach about government contracting, and I love all of y'all. Like all of you guys are doing great. But one thing that definitely has to go with that is like the business side of it. Like,
Mhm.
how do you hire employees? How do you pay
Mhm.
employees? What platforms do you use to pay employees? How do you make sure you're meeting, abiding by the laws of having them? You know what I mean? There's a lot that comes into it. And with janitorial contracts, you're going to have some employees.
Yeah.
Maybe you won't have all of them, but you're going to have employees, and your employees are going to expect to get paid on time, efficiently,
Mhm.
deposits, like they're going to expect to have you know what I mean? There's so much that goes into it that I think that's the biggest thing, when you're deciding what industry to get in with government contracting, because it is amazing. GovCon will always be amazing. It's an opportunity I think everyone should at least know about. Whether you
Yeah.
decide to get into it, that's on you.
Yeah.
But I think everyone should know about it. But before if you're not already an established business, before you decide what industry you're going to be in, like you really should sit down and do some like analyzing of not only yourself, but what your strengths are when it comes to business, what your weaknesses are, and what industry you should ideally be in according to all of those things, not just what you think is going to be the easiest or the best or pays the most or whatever the case is. Because you got to be able to solve the problems.
Oh, yes. And they will arise. Let me tell y'all, the
They will.
problems that will arise. Look, in the Usher song, oh, situations will arise.
I'm telling
But yeah, definitely I feel like that was such a good component to add to it is general business stuff. And I've been saying that recently is, we can talk about government contracting all day, all day, all day, but like if the foundation of like operating and running the business isn't there, it makes it a lot harder to manage something as massive as a contract.
absolutely.
So definitely appreciate you throwing that in there. Definitely. All
Sure,
right, here's one more thing. What advice do you have for business owners who are considering getting into the government contracting space?
Oh man. Well, I guess do your research, right? Don't get stuck in the research phase because you can be there for a while. The space is really huge and you'll just find yourself learning and learning and learning and never actually doing anything that you learn, implementing what you learn. But do some research. Don't just get into this thinking, okay, I'm going to become a government contractor. I'm going to win a contract and I'm going to be rich, right? Like this is not a get rich quick type of it, or it should not be a get rich quick type of plan or whatever the case is. Like government contracting, you should approach it very strategically because if you do, that's when it becomes really rewarding. That's when you're able to utilize all of the great benefits that come to it. But you're not going to understand how to do that, how to create a strategy or how you should even move within this space if you don't do the research. Now, if you're one of those people who, okay, this is a lot, I'm feeling overwhelmed because that's normal, right? That is so normal. It's good. You probably will feel a little overwhelmed. It's okay, but it's just because it's new. It's not that it's something you can't do. It's just new and you've never done it before. And it's not something new that you can just pick up overnight. Like I will forever be a student of this game, right? I learned from you. I learned from everyone that's in this space teaching entrepreneurship. And that's the cool thing about it. Everything you learn from Shakia is so much more. Everything you learn from me, it's so much more. There's always going to be more.
Always.
So you have to make sure that if you're not able to efficiently do the research on your own, link up with Shakia, right? Link up with someone who can get you what you need so that you don't have to just continuously feel overwhelmed. And now you're just like, oh, it's not for me. I'm done. I can't do this. You can do this. We can all do this. It's literally created for us to win and do this. You just have to have the strategy. So don't quit. Definitely don't quit.
And you mentioned linking up with me, but I'm trying to make sure these people are linking up with you. So tell them about your program and then also how to get in contact with you, like how to reach out, how to find you. Let's talk about that. Tell them how to, because I'm pretty sure they're looking at this like, oh, this is so good.
Well, thank you. I'm always for partnerships, right? Like it's never just about, and I think that's why, I love what you're doing so much because it's never just about you. It's never just about, what I have to offer. I have a company that I'm still running, like I still have my own stuff, right? So I can't teach everybody. I can't help everybody, but there's so many people out here who have great information and who can get you to that next step. But as for me, I have a master class. It is super intense. You dive deep into not just the basics of government contracting, but what you should understand. So like the actual strategy we talked about, how you should move within this space to become successful, how to network, how to partner, I give you templates. I literally take everything I take everything that I've learned within these, 2017, these 5 years of me doing this, as well as my business experience. And I pour it into literally almost 6-7 hours worth of video, pre-recorded content. It's self-paced. So I'm a mom. I have a business I'm running to. I get it. You're probably not going to sit down for 6 hours. It's not straight. It's broken up into sections, but it's going to take you time and you're going to need to go back and forth to it. Like you're probably going to have to watch a couple things, more than once. So it's pre-recorded and it's not on a time limit or anything. You have access to it for life. So there's a master class. I also have an ebook for beginners if you're just getting started and you just want to know, what's my first, 10 steps that I should do. I have that, super affordable. And then we also offer done for you services. So that's another business that I started after I started talking about government contracts, because I was realizing, which this is probably what every government consultant realized, right? I started realizing that there's a group of people who they want to learn this, right? They really want to learn it. But they're in a stage where it's going to take them some time to really feel, like they're good to go. But they want to learn it on their own. And then you have the people who are already established, the business owners who they've been generating revenue for however long, whatever the case is, and they just want some contracts, right? Like they want to add someone to their team that just can get it done. So we offer done for you services where I basically come in and we do it for you. So we find you opportunities, we build your pipeline, and we actually respond to a minimum of one opportunity on your behalf. But with that, you get the template, you get all of the resources, and you get the master class. So if you do want to learn or someone on your team wants to learn, it opens up that opportunity for you as well. And then once you work with us, we want to partner with you, right?
Okay.
Like
I know you heard
it's definitely a pipeline for sure. But you just got to be strategic with your learning, be strategic with, your business in general. Like it can take you a while to get your first contract, or you can implement, you can partner with companies who are already successful. Like that is, I think it's looked upon, it's not looked upon bad in this space, right? Yeah. Partner with the people who are already successful in what you want to do. Because guess what? That's what I'm doing. And I'm already successful, right? But there's another level that I want to get to. So everything that I'm telling you to do, like I'm doing the same thing. It works. Okay. You see it works.
It works.
It definitely works. So this was so fun.
I'm happy you enjoyed it. I'm happy that you came on. And I know, like I said, a lot of the information that you shared, I'm pretty sure so many people are going to feel those same sentiments as they're listening to this or watching this on YouTube or whatever the case may be, because we are all in that space. And I think it's just a matter of, like you said, learning and implementing.
Absolutely.
But thank you, Jakayla, so much for coming. Definitely will probably have you back in another season or so, just to get some updates and talk about some of the, as you grow in this space, there are different hurdles you have to hop over. So talk about some new hurdles for some businesses who are getting ready to scale after, you've already been in a space of scaling. So I think that'll be something we would definitely have you back on to talk about as well in the future. But yeah, that's episode 17, y'all. That's it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you want to follow Jakayla, let them know how to follow you and connect with you on social or on LinkedIn or wherever you want to connect with people. Let them know how they can reach out.
Yeah, so I am Jakayla Leathers on LinkedIn. I am official Jakayla on Instagram. My email will probably be linked down there somewhere, but it's info@officialjakayla.com. And then for consulting, it's nextstepconsulting.com. For Transform Floor Care, it's transformfloor.com. We're just gonna have to put the links down.
Oh, all the links gonna be in the description box.
But yeah, I'm on social. I'm more active, I will say, on my Instagram. I am getting a lot more active on my LinkedIn, but either or, definitely reach out. I still answer my DMs, guys. Like I'm very approachable. So I'm super approachable. And I keep saying I'm going to start a YouTube too. It's literally already created. It's Jakayla Leathers on Instagram. There's nothing there right now, but when you guys check back in on me in maybe a month or two ago, maybe a month or two or so, it should have some content in there.
Okay, so that's on YouTube. We'll add the YouTube link there as well. So even if the information ain't on there yet, y'all just go ahead and subscribe.
Yeah, I got other places. Instagram is loaded.
Yeah. But yes, so don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Again, I really appreciate all of the support you all have been providing. This is, like I said, season 3, episode 17, and I had no idea we would have made it this far, but we did. We made it. We made it. But all right, we'll see y'all in the next episode, and that's it. Peace.
Okay, bye guys.